Κυρίες και κύριοι, φιλοξενούμε σήμερα μέσα από το CapitalTV, έχουμε την τιμή να φιλοξενούμε τον καθηγητή οικονομικών από το πανεπιστημίου του Σικάγου, τον κύριο Aliber. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Aliber. And my first question is for the topic that everybody worldwide discusses, and I'm talking about Greece. Do you think that Greece has overcome the dangers of bankruptcy, or do we have to see the haircut of its debt in the next months or years?
I think it's highly likely Greece has overcome the danger of bankruptcy. If the haircut occurs, it will not be in the next few months or the next year, maybe 2, 3, or 4 years from now.
So the mechanism don't seem to protect the Greek economy from the restructuring of the debt?
The restructuring of the debt is proceeding, and that will assist the Greek economy. There is no big shock out there in the near future because of the commitment of funds from the IMF and the Northern European countries. The Greek government will be able to pay its workers. It will have enough cash in the bank for the next few months.
And after the next few months?
I will come back here and you can ask the same question and we'll see whether the answer is the same.
Okay, so we had the decision from the leaders of the Eurozone member countries about the European mechanism. Do you think that this mechanism is going to really work?
I think the mechanism will work. The question is what are the likely costs going to be to the Greek economy if the Greek government adheres to the commitments it will make, and will there be a recession? Will there be positive growth but at a very low rate? What will happen to the unemployment rate? And those are the questions people should be focusing on.
So the main purpose of the IMF and the measures that IMF asked for from Greece, the main purpose is the deflation. Do you think that we will see in Greece the prices falling down in order to restore its competitiveness?
The purpose of the IMF measures was to help the Greek government avoid bankruptcy. That is, to be sure that the monies that the Greek government owes its employees will be available on time. Now the question is, will the Greek government be able to adhere to its commitments to reduce the fiscal deficit, and then will that lead to a sufficient decline in the Greek price level so that Greece again becomes competitive?
Besides Greece, there are also problems in Portugal, Spain. Do you think that the next countries that will face such dangers are these two countries, or the spots will go directly to the United Kingdom?
Well, the United Kingdom is in a favorable position because it is not in the Eurozone. So if it has a problem, it can allow the value of its currency to decline. And that has already happened and will probably continue to happen as the new British government adopts measures to reduce public spending and increase taxes. One of the countries that is likely to be subject to pressures in the near future is Ireland. The Irish government has taken initiatives to reduce salaries and pensions, but costs in Ireland are very high, and Ireland is not competitive.
So all this public debt crisis throughout all Eurozone, do you think that it could cause problems to the European banks?
If the 4 or 5 countries that are heavily indebted were to stop paying the interest at the same time, then the banks would be in difficulty. And presumably they would be bailed out or get capital injections from their governments. But I think it is highly unlikely in the next few months that each of these governments of the highly indebted countries would stop paying the interest on its indebtedness.
So how long could the European governments afford supporting the banks?
Oh, for a very long time. That's for years and years and years. The governments have the ability to support the banks. And they will take on an increasing share of the ownership of the banks, and the existing stockholders in the bank would find that their share of the ownership would decline.
We have too many pressures on the euro towards dollar and Swiss franc. Which are your estimations about euro or US dollar currency in the next months?
It's hard to make short-term predictions, or at least I find it hard to make short-term predictions, but I think that investors have confused what is a credit crisis for 4 or 5 governments with a currency crisis. There is no currency crisis for the euro. And yet investors who were skeptical about the willingness and ability of the Greek government, the Portuguese government, the Irish government to pay on time have shorted the euro. When the credit crises of these governments are resolved, then the euro will appreciate.
My last question has to do with United States. Do you think that US economy has overcome its problems? Because today we had some new data about the homeowners who lost their homes, and there is a record. Do you think that the problems are not? Do you think that the problems are not yet existed in US, and if they are not, which are the main problems now?
No, the US economy is doing brilliantly if one has a job. So the growth rate in the third quarter of 2009 was modestly positive. The growth rate in the fourth quarter of 2009 was 5%. That's a very good growth rate. The growth rate in the first quarter of 2010 was north of 3%, and I believe that growth rate, the posted growth rate, will increase further. So we are on a growth trajectory, and one day's news about housing foreclosures, news that was predictable, are not going to derail the recovery.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my pleasure.